I'm Mike,
And I'm Amber. Welcome to the Covenant Chronicles,
where we tell you the truth about relationships.
giving you the tools to build the foundation you always needed. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Covenant Chronicles. That was different.
It was different, that is for sure. I'm actually surprised you're so upbeat right now.
Why?
Because you'd be all sassy. You'd be all mad at me.
That doesn't mean that I won't be upbeat, and I'm not mad at you. You're going to make
Sure.
everyone think that I'm like actually mad.
No,
I'm not actually mad.
she's not mad. We just got new adult fun bedroom stuff that we were supposed to, came in the mail today and was supposed to try tonight. However, apparently we're more committed to getting you guys help and fixing your relationships. So we're doing this podcast instead of having our own fun time. So we said, depending on how late these podcasts run tonight, it might have to be a tomorrow thing.
It's fine. I mean, kind of, but yeah. You know, just telling everyone our private life here. It's cool.
We're adults
It's
here.
fine. We talk about sex anyways.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
I mean, that's the reality of it, right? Is like, that's part of this whole thing is you should be doing stuff and you should be exploring with your partner and you should be having fun and trying new things and actually doing bedroom activities on a regular basis. Because if you're not, like, you should probably listen to most of our podcasts and fix whatever is going on.
Probably.
Yeah.
We do have a good sex life, but that's not what we're talking about today.
Well,
Maybe we need to someday, but that's not today's adventure.
oh, we're going to talk about it soon. It's actually on the list.
Yeah.
It's literally titled, Let's Talk About Sex.
I know. You've brought it up a couple times.
Anyways, which is
Soon,
hilarious
guys.
because I'm the one that wants to talk about it, but you're the one that's more driven in the relationship.
Yeah.
Weird.
I think guys like talking about sex more. We'll get into that whenever we actually talk about sex.
Yeah. But what we are going to talk about is talking about your relationship.
Yes.
And we wanted to, I guess, walk through our journey because we used to do this actually. And it was funny because, well, not funny, but we used to do this in our previous relationships. I know for a fact. And we did it at the beginning of our relationship. And there came a point where I decided to draw a line and be like, we're not going to do this anymore. And I'm pretty sure, like, I think there was like one other time shortly after that. It was when we were coming out the tail end of like the really tough part of us growing together. And I think I don't remember if it was your mom or your friend or something, and you had talked about stuff. And to be fair, like we hadn't been like, this is a thing, right? We talked about it since the beginning of our relationship and how we don't feel that talking about our relationship necessarily to other people is healthy. And the reason why is not to say that talking about your relationship is unhealthy, but it's the manner in which we do. And the problem becomes is when you're not in the right frame of mind to actually be able to understand that and have a conversation, and the conversation is centered around you taking responsibility, then it becomes actually hurtful to the relationship. And I think, we had talked about that where, like I said, I think it was like one more time. And it wasn't very long later. We had talked about it. We talked about it. And then I kind of said, hey, like this needs, like, we should probably take this to heart. And I think that other time happened. I think we sat down and I said, look, we can't do this anymore. Like, we need to, when there's issues, we need to figure out how to communicate them. Like talking to our friends, it doesn't work. It's not healthy. Like when we have issues, it is going to be you and I figuring it out.
Yeah, I don't necessarily remember a conversation about it, but I do remember a switch flipping in my head where I was just like, I don't want to keep doing this because I realized why I was doing it.
Right.
And I think that's really what we kind of wanted to talk about today. And I wanted to talk about maybe the female perspective of it, and you can kind of talk about the male perspective of it. But
Hmm.
essentially, it's just that, you know, you have conflict in your relationship, or you just feel like your relationship isn't the best, and you start complaining to your friends or your family about your husband or your wife and complaining about your relationship and like wanting to talk about all of the negative things and the, you know, the bad fight that you just had, or, you know, that your husband's not doing this or he's not doing that, or, you know, there's just so many different things that I've heard and also that I've said um, throughout my life. Um, but I wanted to talk about it because I really had this like realization. I realized why I was doing it a while back, but I don't think I ever made the correlation to the fact that this is the reason that I think most women do it.
Hmm. I think it's important to note too, or give the information that you and I do talk about our relationship now, but there was a time period we have had to stop.
Mhm.
And I believe that that's why most you'll hear it from a lot of either relationship therapists or coaches or whatever you want to call them, right? Or even other podcasts. And this is something that we believe and hold true as well, is that in most of those situations, they tell you don't communicate outside of your like relationship, right?
Yeah.
What I will say is we stopped for a long time. We do now. However, the way in which it communicated is very different than what it was before, right? And until we learn that, because I will say, like, um, like all if we have say like a disagreement, or something, and it just happened and I'm going to men's group or something, this and that, I might bring it up, right? But it's never this, hey, yeah, my wife, blah, blah, blah. It's, I screwed up, you know, I did this, I wasn't listening.
Hmm.
We had an issue she was trying to express to me and I wasn't hearing her, or you know what I mean? Like it's a ownership situation, right?
Hmm.
And I do that for the specific intent of trying to encourage others now, right? It's not this like, oh, let me complain about what's going on in my life kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's a, hey, like, I'm not perfect all the time. This is what I did. Take my lesson, right? Don't do this,
Yeah.
and like we will say, and we do communicate, oh, we went through this, we've learned this now, right? Or we were struggling with this and this is what we navigated through, and we use it. We do talk about the, I guess, the quote unquote problems, if you will, inside of our relationship in a very open manner, but it is in a sense of like expressing progress, expressing examples of this is how to navigate this, expressing examples of like ownership,
Hmm.
right? Those sort of things. And we use it in a positive light of like, no, our relationship's awesome. And when we have a little hiccup, it's a learning opportunity and an opportunity for us to get better at what we do and how we do it.
Yeah. To be honest, I still don't really talk about um like arguments or disagreements. I really don't think I've talked to anyone about any of our, like, arguments or disagreements since probably, like, a little over a year ago was
Mhm.
probably the last time, and that's not like, I could do, kind of what you were saying about, like, expressing how we work through it and stuff. But to me, I just felt convicted that I was doing that for the wrong reasons, and so for
Mhm.
me, it's easier for me to figure it out and work through it myself, figure out, like, the feelings that I was feeling and why I was feeling them and, like, all of those things, and then talk to you about it,
Mhm.
than it is for me to go and do that with someone else.
I guess that's a good point though, and that I guess should be expressed is that working through the problem with your partner versus somebody else is vastly different. And that's I guess a good differentiating factor there is like when it is talked about, right? Because even like we talked about something recently, like with our friends, right?
Yeah.
We don't work through the problems with them or it's after the solution. Same thing in the example that I was given at men's group. I mean, typically though, to be honest with you, as soon as I step away within 30 seconds, I'm like, oh, I screwed up, like, so it's never this situation of whatever. And it's usually, after there's resolution, after you and I have figured stuff out, after we've whatever, there's this expression of like, hey, I screwed up.
Yeah.
Right. But it's also what I will say is it's the same information that we give on here. It's no different, than anything we say on here. It's
Yeah, I so I guess I'll get kind of into it because my thinking and thought process behind this um was that I probably, like I said, like it was a little less than a year ago, that I realized that I was going to people when there was a disagreement or whatever, and I was trying to seek validation and reassurance from someone else. I was wanting them to tell me that, y I was right in whatever situation and
mhm,
that, I did the right thing and you were wrong, and, like, that's what I was seeking in those moments, and it's a really unhealthy thing that I think that we do, but I figured out, like, literally today was just thinking about it and realized why I think that we do that as women. Because a lot of times we'll go to our mom or we'll go to our best friend, or maybe there's like a group of, people that you talk to frequently, and you just start like airing all of these things because you want that validation, because you want that, like, yeah, you're totally right and he's wrong, and whatever else, right? But I realized that I think the reason that women do this so much with other women is because women are really good at giving that validation and reassurance to each other. A lot of times we are very uplifting to each other and like wanting to provide that support and be that like person that gives whatever to your best friend, like, "Oh, I'm here for you, I've got you." And I don't necessarily think that that's wrong, but what I do think is that we're doing it for the wrong reasons. And
mhm,
I think that whenever you constantly go to your mom or your friend groups, whatever, about these things, it tends to create a super negative image of your spouse to other people. And
mhm,
then if you get to a point where you've like really worked things out and your relationship is great, they're always going to have this weird negative, like, yeah, but like, that's not really who he is. Because remember all those times you told me these things?
Mm,
Like, there's not like this for forgiveness of past things, right? Like
yeah.
that's still there all the time. And that really can become an issue. And so while I think it's great that like we as women want to support each other and be supportive and whatever, I also just think that we're not realizing that we're creating these like thoughts in our brain of this other person's spouse, which will negatively affect how you feel and see them,
Mhm.
which then makes it harder to give them positive support because all you have are these negative images of that person. Um, but also, I realized that I think the biggest reason we do it is because we don't feel seen or heard at home. And that's such a core need for
Mhm.
women in a relationship. And when you are not feeling seen or heard at home, you start seeking that from somewhere else. And
Mm,
I think even though it's negative, it's that like core need that women have. Like we are just very emotional and we feel like we need to express our emotions. And when we feel like we can't do that at home, you start seeking that other places, not realizing that it's actually a detriment to your relationship. But the hard part is that you're seeking it because you don't feel that at home. And so that's where you have to really start working on that emotional safety with your partner. Because I realized, like, when you and I started creating that, like, real emotional safety and security in our relationship, I didn't feel the need to go do that,
mhm.
right? Like, I don't for one, I realized what it was doing, how other people were viewing you because of that, and I
Mhm.
didn't like that.
Yeah.
But also I realized that, like, I don't need to go seek that from other people. I know that I can talk to you and we can figure it out. But I
Yeah.
also know that I can hold space for myself to figure things out.
One, it's not giving others ammunition, right? Because like there's enough ammunition out there, right, for people to try to, I guess, infiltrate or let the enemy, infiltrate your relationship, right? And pick it apart. And sometimes the enemy is going to use people in your circle of influence because you've given them that weakness, right? And that emotional um weapon, if you will. I'll be honest though, I don't think it's a woman thing. I think it's a human thing.
Mhm.
Um Men are very much the same way. And we do the same. Now it's different, right? Because I think that the way that men and women respond to this is very different.
Uh-huh.
Women are very like nurturing and kind and caring. So like if you go to your friends and you say, "Oh, he did X, Y, and Z," and they'll come back and, "Oh, babe, I'm so sorry. He's such an a-hole, you deserve better, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
Right? And but like for guys, it's typically this like, "Oh, she's pissing me off. Oh, she did da 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 da," and it's some vulgar like, "Oh, f that, blah blah blah,"
Mhm.
just find you a new chick, da 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 da. Like you don't need her, you know, this, that, and the other, right? Um, but it's the same thing, and it's human nature to seek validation. And I don't think there's a differentiate. Like I said, the response that, men and women elicit from their friends is different, but the seeking validation is no, like, men and women both do it equally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what I will say though is that this is an opportunity too, right? Because we talk about it from the perspective of people showing up in their relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the perspective of how you can act differently in your relationship. But what I'm also going to point out here is if you actually care about your friends and you actually love them and care about them the way that you say you do, you're not going to respond that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. I mean, for me, like, I've had friends that I was really close with that were not that close because I called them out. And to be honest with you, if you care about your friends, that's going to be, what it is. I- and if you actually care about them, that's going to be your response, right? Is like, hey, one, like, if you got an issue, you need to go talk to your partner,
Yeah.
right? But two, what are you doing to screw up, right? And it's not just there is the aspect of I'm very hard on dudes, right? And we've had that.
Yeah.
Like, I've talked to you about some of the things, like when I've had friends of mine or people that are in my network come to me and, oh, this happened and blah and and even if they like admit, oh, it's because I screwed up, they have some sort of reaction, about the situation or the kids and how things are going to be handled. And I've flat out told them, like, knock it off.
Yeah.
You're in this situation because you screwed up. Like, you have to think about it this way. One of my friends, I'm like, they did some stuff and, their wife was pretty much like, okay, I'm done. This isn't the first time. Like, I'm done. Right.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to get all territorial about kids and custody. And I'm like, I'm not saying you don't deserve to be around your kids because you do. But like at the same time, be honest with me. What would happen if your daughter was dating or married to the man you're being to your wife right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's be honest. Go look in the mirror. What would happen? Because I promise you, you wouldn't allow it.
Right.
But you're going to tell me that you're going to allow that for your wife?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. What I'll say is that I think that that's super harder for women to do than men because, like,
mhm.
men are so, like, literal and just, like, when you're on your shit, like, I'm gonna tell you how it is, right? Whereas for women, like, we are so, like, nurturing and, um, wanting to, like, comfort and be there for other women that can be hard to do. And especially, if you're not in the right state of mind, expressing that to your friend or to whoever can be super hard to do because you're
Mhm.
just wanting to, like, be comforting and stuff. But I think that's why for me, I was like, I'm just not going to do it anymore because I don't want to elicit that reaction from anyone.
Mhm.
And when you're in that emotional state of being upset and frustrated, a lot of times, like, emotions come up and come out that you don't actually feel,
Right.
but because you're in that heightened state, like, they're all just coming to you in that moment, and you
Mhm.
say things that you don't actually mean, and, like, it's just it's not a good time for you to actually be talking about what's happening, but that's how we are, like, we're just emotional, so we wanna just talk about it. But when that's what I realized is by not talking to people about it, I can process all of that myself
Mhm.
and then be like, "Wow," like, I was really overreacting in that moment, and, come to my own conclusions about what the issue was or what I was feeling and all of those things without having someone else validate me and tell me, "Oh, yeah, you were so right,"
Mhm.
when truthfully I probably wasn't.
Mhm.
But I feel like so often, you know, we do get frustrated if we know that our spouse has talked to someone else about our, whatever, like the issues and stuff. But I don't think that we're taking into account why they're doing that. And I don't know that it's really talked about that much or that people really understand it and understand why they're doing it and what their like deep-seated need is for doing it
Mhm.
so that you can create that within your own relationship and not feel like you have to be going out and searching for that in other places.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, more to your point. I will say I've kind of given there's almost like stages to this, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of it has to do with like where your current state and frame is. And I think it's important to make that differentiation of like, I have played, devil's advocate a little bit here in the sense of like, well, there is this other, but to be honest with you, that doesn't apply to 99% of people because
Mhm.
99% of people fall into exactly what you're talking about, in which you just shouldn't be saying it,
Yeah.
right? And to be very clear, you have to have a high level of discernment, right? And also who you're talking to,
Mhm.
right? Of not just what you're saying, but who you're talking to,
Yeah.
right? And like you said, like for you especially, because even if you did have a high level of ownership in your communication, right? Depending on who you say it to, right? There's a good chance that somebody's still going to validate that other side.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, in that being said, there's a high level of discernment of you're correct in the sense that men are a little bit, I would say the percentage is higher for men that can actually have a conversation. One of my closest friends now, at the end of the day, like if I were to say anything, they are one of those people that would be like, but what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like once again, when I communicate these things, it is never we had issues. My wife did that. It is solely I created an issue because my wife was trying to communicate her emotions. I wasn't listening, right? Like something of that nature,
Yeah.
and kind of this I forgot in that moment how to act or something. You know what I mean? And then usually there's like from this specific person there's a laugh and it's like, well, you know what you need to do. I'm like, yep. And I'm usually,
Yeah.
like if I'm not near you, obviously I'm at that point I'm texting or something. But it is a hard thing to find. And you're right in the sense that 99% of people don't fall into that category. And so to think like, oh, well, we could, you know, talk to our friends or we could express things to our friends, whether it's male or female, in most cases you simply shouldn't,
Yeah.
right? And in most cases you should keep it. Well, no, I won't say most cases. In all cases, you should keep because once again, this conversation has also occurred after you and I have resolved everything. We've heard each other out and we've moved on, right?
Yeah.
And then this is more of like me expressing, "Hey, I screwed up today," kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
it's not a, "Oh, help me through this problem," or like, "Oh, I got to express a problem." Like it's never a problem,
Right.
right? Expression of a problem. It's hey, I learned a lesson. I had a learning opportunity today, and this is what I learned.
Right.
You know, um, so in 100% of cases, I will say you should not be expressing the problems or trying to work through problems with anybody outside of your spouse or significant other.
Yeah. I
And
just think like I know that we're saying this and there's going to be people that are like, but I can't do that.
right, and that's where I was going to go next is, but you're also right in the sense that people need to understand if your partner is doing that, there probably is a reason,
Mhm.
right? And here's the thing, this is twofold. The reason could be you,
Yeah.
the reason could also be them,
Right.
right? More than likely, it's probably you though,
Yeah.
right? And this is especially the situation in see, I have a really hard time not going down the rabbit hole of like it's the dude, right? And here's why, right? And here, let me explain.
Yeah.
If the woman feels that she can't communicate at home and she feels invalidated, that is a him thing,
Yeah.
right? If he feels unheard and invalidated, it's a him thing. And here's why.
Mhm.
Women don't naturally choose to ignore you and just not care about what you say unless you have created a situation where they cannot trust you with anything,
Yeah.
right? Because here's the thing, we can blame the previous relationship all we want.
Mhm.
But if he was being a leader and in the proper frame, he would pull her out of that,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not going to say, hey, first week of a relationship, right? First month of a relationship. If there's some past stuff that you guys are carrying, you have to work through that together. And it may be a little bit of a process.
Yeah.
But if you've been with this person for years, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, man, she just doesn't hear me. She invalidates me. Okay, well, she's probably in her masculine and she doesn't trust you at all.
Yeah.
Right. And so here's the thing. It may seem unfair, but this is also why, in most cases, I'm so hard on the men because at the end of the day, like, oh, and by the way, that's probably connected to the fact of she doesn't see or doesn't feel truly heard and understood by you.
Right.
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 Like, because a lot of that is going to stem from that. So
Yeah.
then we're circling back and like, you know, dudes are going to be like, oh, it's, da da da, and women and da 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 da. But see, this is what I go back to every time. If she's exhibiting these wild behaviors, she's only going to get away with what you allow, right?
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter what the behavior is. Because at the end of the day, if you had a true boundary and were in your true frame, it wouldn't be a thing because either she wouldn't do it or you simply wouldn't be with her, right? There's no like, oh, well, I'm doing everything I can. No, you're not. You're
Yeah.
doing it from a needy place, and that's worthless, right?
Yeah.
So that being said, I will say not to be confused with the manner in which I was describing communication because that's a probably a 0.1% or a 1% of people actually have the ability to do that. And it is after the fact, you're not communicating problems, you're communicating learning opportunities you had. And that is a completely different situation.
Yeah.
And what I will say is 99% of people probably need to ignore that part of the podcast because at the end of the day, like I will agree with you in the sense that most people can't do that and they'll stand on that justification and say, well, no, my friends care about me. Well, no, I can da 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 da. But then they go expressing and complaining and right.
And it does create like it does create so many issues within your friend relationship when you start doing that. And like we don't even realize it or acknowledge it. Um until you start trying to do the opposite and being like, oh, things are great. Like, I have an amazing husband and,
Hmm.
all these things. And then they're like, I don't know if I can believe that, And then you realize like the situation that you created.
Yeah. Well,
But that's where I think, I don't always agree with like being super hard on the guys, but I do think that with this particular thing, if your wife doesn't feel emotionally safe and like she can talk to you and feel actually heard and validated from you, like this is exactly what's going to happen. And I'm not saying that it's not on the women some for choosing to do that, because I do think, there comes a level of like self-understanding and realizing that like you have the power to also validate yourself emotionally. Like you don't need other people to do that. And you can, let's take it a step further, take this to God, and he can be that person for
hmm
you, right?
hmm
And like this is between you and God, like that's as far as it needs to go.
Yeah, you need to validate yourself. Go pray to God,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because either he's gonna convict you on like, hey, you're the one screwing up,
Hmm.
or you're gonna feel better because you talked about it and you got it out. Like you validated yourself. You were able to do that within yourself and figure things out. Um, but in saying that, like I do think this is one of those tricky situations when the relationship's just not where it should be. And it was more just me realizing why we do it and the reasons behind it, and
Hmm.
wanting to kind of like share that to give awareness and openness about it. I think that it's one that's difficult to do until your relationship gets to a place where you start feeling that safety, or you've made the changes inside of yourself to, like I said, validate yourself and take it to God, and that be, the end of it. But
The other challenge here, though, is part of it gets fixed by changing your internal conversation,
oh, for
right?
sure,
So,
yeah.
like, and it starts with you, right? You want to express things differently to other people. Start expressing them differently to yourself,
Mhm.
right? And so it is a very difficult thing when your relationship's not where it should be, and especially when you don't have the answers that you need, or possibly the tools especially in that moment. However, right, it's one of those things that like nobody will disagree that changing your internal conversation will alter your view on something.
Mhm.
Except we forget about that part when it comes to our relationship,
Yeah.
right? And here's the thing. That's We talk about this all the time, but that's the place that science and religion meet, right? Is your internal conversation, the way your brain operates, like that base level of operating system that you run on. And you see it in science, you see it in the Bible. Like neither contradict each other in this, right? So what's your argument going to be? Because you can't, you know, like you can't argue it's against the Bible, and you can't argue it's against science, right? Like neither side of that fence can argue it because it's true on both sides.
Yeah.
And so, which, we could go into a whole nother topic that many, many things are. We choose to ignore them, but I digress. So that being said, right, that is the trick to changing that, is starting with your internal conversation and what that looks like, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's hard. Maybe you're in a place right now where you don't know how to do that, because when you think of your significant other, it's just negative thoughts because it's been so hard for so long, right? So every week we give them something to do. And I believe this is a perfect place to go to a technique that I personally use this. I know it works. Start with 30 days. And for the next 30 days, I want you to start in the morning, write down, not type out on your phone, not type out on your computer. Get a piece of paper. I don't care if it's a line paper, a notebook, a printer paper, a notepad. I don't care if you're using chalk or crayons or a pen or a pencil. Get a piece of paper and write one positive thing about your spouse every day. And here's the thing. Don't write the same thing. Every day's got to be something new. But when you hit that 30 days, because all you got to do is 30 days, I will be willing to bet that you can continue to go, right? The goal should be a year, right? You want to give your spouse something that they'll cherish forever for your next anniversary. Start writing now. Go to the store for Walmart at Walmart. I'd say probably $14. You can get a little notebook that has a little fake leather outside, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't even got nothing on the outside of it. It says notebook or something, right? Go get that. And every day for a year, write something positive. And if you have to, because your brain hasn't reprogrammed, just start with one word. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's intelligent. She's kind, right? Something basic. Or he. You could put he on most of that stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Until you get to the point that you've made a little bit of progress, which I guarantee you will do after 30 days. And if you have to, start with the one words. After a week or 2 weeks, or you're even getting around that 30-day mark, when now your brain's starting to remap and reframe, now go to sentences. I love it when she looks at me like this. I love it when she does this.
Yeah.
And it can be, I love it when she lays her head on my chest and like looks up at me with those loving eyes. That was a real thing. I thought about it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it can be, man, I love when she does that thing with her mouth. Right? Like,
I know you do.
I ain't gonna lie. You said it, bro. Ain't my fault you ain't got no right gag reflex. I mean, what? Anyways.
Yeah.
So that being said, it can be these things though, right? Like it hit the whole spectrum. But thinking about a year is like, man, that's 365 things I got to say about this person, especially if you're in a bad headspace. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Straight up. But you can do 30 days.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you have to, break it down. Say, hey, I'm just going to get through this week. 7 days. That's all I'm going to do. Right? And then when you hit the 7, oh, I got this. I can come up with 7 more. I can hit 2 weeks. Then you do it. Oh, man, I'm 2 weeks in. I could go to 30 days. That's not that much more.
Yeah.
And then keep going, right? But that is your thing. That is how to reframe. And this is something that I believe every relationship should do. Intervals, 5 years, 10 years. Shoot, you can even break it down. Do it at your 2-year anniversary. Do it at your 5-year anniversary, your 10-year, your 15, 20, People talk about, oh, I want to renew my vows or I want to buy my spouse a bigger ring. Screw the ring. Go write 365 days of positives about him in a $14 little Walmart notebook.
Yeah.
And hand it to him for an anniversary.
It would mean more for sure.
And the outcome of your relationship, because I promise you, if you do it for a year, you will completely reframe how you look at this person.
100%. Yeah. Changing your mindset is everything, for sure.
We should talk about what is mindset in our next podcast. It's actually on the list. It's one of the little check boxes. So
we should do mindset for sure. For sure.
On that note, there you go. That is what you are to start this week. If you want to do the notebook thing, do it. If not, get a piece of paper. You got something somewhere, rip out a sheet of a book, notepad, printer paper, your kids' construction paper, something.
Yeah.
Do that this week. And also do the relationship audit. Gotta plug it. It's free.
Yeah.
It's silly not to use it.
Yeah.
Nobody else will give you anything for free. You got to put in an email. You got to put in a name. You got to do something. You don't even got to do that. Yeah. All you got to do is go to a website, thecovenantchronicles.com. Relationship audit. If you're on the computer, it's at the top of the page on the right-hand side. Phone, tablet, left-hand side. Click the 2 or 3 little lines, whatever's there for the menu. Drop down. It's at the bottom. It's bigger than all the other text.
Yeah.
Don't even have to put your info in. Just got to go to the website. That's it.
Yeah.
Super
easy.
I don't even know if our website tracks cookies. I mean, I'm sure it has some level, but there's not, doesn't even pop up saying, hey, allow or disallow. Like you just you just literally go there and click on it. It's the easiest thing ever.
Ever.
All right. On that note, go start writing nice things about your spouse.
Yep.
And do the relationship audit while you're at it.
Let's change that relationship.
For sure. All right. Till next time.
Bye, guys.